Hi there, I want to show you how to modify a Bachmann class 37 to have running, you can have switchable tail and switchable cab lights. So in this video I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to be using a Zen Blue Z218. They've now replaced this with a Z in black, but the actual CVs that we're going to change on this are exactly the same with the Zen black. So the first thing first is that we need to take the shell off, which is 2 screws there, 1 screw there, and the same at each end. So I will open it up and come back in a second. Now that I managed to get the screws out, you literally just pull it apart like that and put that to one side. So to do this, we only actually need to do 1 trace cut, which is down here. I'll get a screwdriver, move these out. This one is for the headlight at the number 2 end. We need to take these plastic things off, which I'm not 100% sure about them being very functional. They do work to a point, but they are known to fail, so I'll probably be soldering these. You have an option now where you could take the bogies off, remove the capacitor off the motor, as well as removing the switch down here. The other way to do it is literally pull the cables out, put them to one side, and you're done. But I'm not a fan of leaving the switches in because they're going to be redundant anyway, and I just really need to get to the motor to take the capacitor out. It's a bit more involved, but will pay dividends. Also, one thing I'll put on the bottom of my trains, or I've started putting on the bottom of my trains, is a connector so that if I needed to clean my wheels, which looks like that. So basically I could plug in 2-prong lead, have this sitting in a foam cradle, and I could polish all the wheels up. Like this train's been around my track a few laps now, and the wheels aren't exactly clean. And the part alone comes in, do one on my tray, something like this. So you literally cut it off. There's a bit of wastage because they are joined as one very long header, but I think I paid a couple quid for like 10 to maybe 20 strips of this stuff, and I've got a whole drawer of them, so it doesn't really bother me. But it definitely makes it easier to clean wheels because you're not having to worry about trying to put a conductor of power to your wheels. You literally just plug it in and it's done. And I'll just put a little bit of wire onto the copper strips down here. So for instance, where that wire is going in there, if you could just see that, I'll be putting the connector here, just so the wire can literally go down through here straight onto the pickups, and means I can clean the wheels very easily. So what I'm going to do is, to really do this, I'm going to take all the black caps off, there and both sides. I'll take the board out slightly, just so that the wires are a bit more freer. Bogie tower is held in by 1 screw there and 1 screw there, and I'll be pulling it out. I'll try and show you how to do that. It's very hard to get the drive shafts back in, but once they're in, it's a doddle. It's probably more fiddly trying to get the wires back in after pulling them out, but like I say, you don't have to do it, but it just means that you've taken a switch out. A lot of people, if they're going to add sound later, could drill the hole out ready and put a speaker in place. I've done it on a couple of my locos where I put the speaker in place ready, but because of the price of sound chips now, I've sort of moved away from it, and that needs a little bit of gluing. So I'll come back to you in a minute when I've taken the bogies off. Like I said, you don't need to take this off if you're happy with just isolating the wires. See you in a minute. Once you've taken the 2 bogie tails out, you actually have 4 more screws, which are 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you undo these, you've just got to be very careful because sometimes these are threaded, well, headed, well, rounded the head. The idea here is to try and keep the wires still attached, which is a bit tricky. Yeah, it's just not going to work. So pull all these out. So this is all like excess cable now. Right. This is why I say you can quite happily just isolate these wires, but there is 6 you've got to try and isolate. Come on. Like that. So what we'll do is we'll just pull that around. Like that. And like that, just to keep these out of the way. So it looks very tricky at the moment, but it gets easier. So we want to take this out. This is why I say it's probably easier to leave the cables in there, but I'm persistent. I'll be back in a sec. This is the weight with the sockets, not the sockets, the switches in. So just take that out. One screw. And the other screw. I'm going to throw this away, but some people may want to keep it in case they want to reuse the switches. You probably find a use for it. Personally, I just throw it away. And the screws as well, because they're pointless. So I put the weight back in as it was. It doesn't want to go back in. There we go. Put these screws back. Okay, and so because I want to take the motor out, although this one doesn't seem to have any, no, so this one doesn't have any capacitors already in it. The reason why I know that is because there's no connection between either side and any capacitors. So this, I'm just going to clip back in and put back together. So it goes like that. And most of the screws are whole, no, some of them fell out. So I'll turn you back on once I've done all the screws up. Alright, so the base is back on now, nice and fixed. So what I want to do is I just want to put the board back in place, because I could do everything else. Ooh. Okay, and I'm just going to tie these cables up so I know that one went around that side. And you have a bit of play with this, so you can loop it back round and use your nails. And you can bend the plastic a little bit, just put these cables back. Like that. One thing you have to be careful about is you've got to make sure that you get them all tucked in like that, and then as it goes up here, you need to just tuck it down here. You can use a little bit of blue tack to hold this in place. The reason why you need to keep it there is because the plastic actually from the, I think it's the cab backs, back of the cabs, comes down here, slides along here. I've had it, and if you look in the video earlier, there was actually cables from manufacturer that were crimped in this section here. Now later on, when I put the cables in, I'm going to try and make sure it goes through these channels. And like I say, if they won't stay in place, I use a little bit of blue tack just to hold them. So for instance, like this side, I can just, you sort of use your little pinky finger, you can push the cables into the holes like that. That one's normally a bit more trickier because there's more cables. Go like that, like that. You see it's actually gone under the metal, so I've just got to make sure it goes like that. And that one's actually sitting very well. It's away from the plastic, but we just push it round the side a little bit just to tidy it up. And it's like that. So I'll do the other end and I'll turn you back on in a sec. Okay, that's all back in place, so all the cables are nicely routed. It's all the way from the channels, both ends. Like I said, this bit's optional, but for some people that probably maybe uses it for exhibition layouts and they don't want to have to keep using, I think it's the Trix wheel cleaner, because I have seen examples where it's stripped metal off the wheels, and then with spares getting quite hard to get hold of, albeit there's probably some very smart people out there that can get hold of them. This way you can use a fiberglass pen and clean your wheels. So what I'll be doing is, see where that solder joint is there, or solder, whatever, I'll be facing the cables that way, so that it gives enough space to push in there, but the cables will route quite tightly down there. You can do it the other way if you wanted to. It's purely your preference. The only reason why I would say try and aim them to the front, which I think is what I did on the other one, yes, is that the cables will be coming this way, away from the model when you're trying to clean, because if you have it that way and you've got a long cable, you're going to be fighting over it. I know it's petty, I know it's, you know, just one of them things, but like I say, I'll probably try and put a thing down the bottom so that you can skip to the actual circuitry. So I'm going to glue this now and come back when I'm doing the wiring. So for some that want to see this happen, just this is ESU cable, just something that I prefer using. There is probably other brands out there, and then quick enough, which sometimes I'm not. So that's a decent, is that tag still? Yes. And then what you do, just go underneath. I've used an accelerator on this, but a little bit of paint will sort that out. Go around like that, and we want to try and keep it tight. So we want to go to about there. And then I'll do the same on the other side. Worked very well. So what I'm doing is I'm just tagging to the soldering to the same joint as the wheel poke up, and then I go around the corner, and then what I'll do is I will actually cut it off at the second copper bit, like that. So the wire is now finished with for the moment. So just take the covers off like that, and then solder up with 2 prongs. Use the tweezers. Like that. Nope. You can, if you want to, use a little bit of glue just to hold it in place, but I don't think you need it at all, because it's literally ½ an inch long, maybe a little bit more, maybe 3/4 of an inch, and yeah, they're not going anywhere. And to be fair, if you put a little bit of black paint on there, you're not really going to see it at all. Some people will weather it up after they do this type of work, especially if they're for exhibition layouts and things like that. So I'm going to get this back in. This is the back set of wheels. So this is where this will put a lot of people off, because you have to get the cable and poke it through its little holes. And you've got to make sure the cable's actually going straight. So you've got to get it back into its hole like that. And then you've got to get the other one in. Like that, and then you can just pull the cables through just to make sure they won't fall out. And then you have to aim the draft shaft back into the little cup, pull these through so it actually pulls the bogie back into place, and then do the screw up, which is there. So do that. I'll just do the other end and I'll come back. Okay, hopefully I've done the timestamp on the overlay properly. Let's just check my sample. Right, so the ones we need to solder would be number 3, number 5. This is motor left, which we'll obviously have to put back in, or left rail pickup, and let me just check. Number 2, and number 2, motor positive, right hand, this side as well, because I've taken the little black things off, little black clips. Some people would prefer them so they can easily undo, but personally I don't like them. I've had a couple where locos will just stop working. It's because the contact was not right. You could probably just skipped all this if you didn't want to take the bogies out, because I've taken the bogies out. I want to solder the wires onto here. Well done. Twist that and go underneath. You see there, you've got to make sure that the wires go in the channels. This one had been crimped over here. Let's grab that. Do the same thing, just turn this around. Right, let's put it underneath. motor feed. Oh, wrong one. That's motor feed. It's the right hand side. There's the motor from the left hand side, or motor negative. I'll put this in here. That's that done. Right, let's just tidy up the cables. Actually, before I do that, right, we need to do one jump, which is from number 3 to number 5. So let's cut a bit of cable. You can use a bit of wire, like solid wire, for doing this. The only reason why I don't like it is that I don't want it touching number 4, although nothing should be going through number 4. I just don't want it to touch. Turn the wire down. Should be enough. Okay. Solder this on. Okay, so we've tied the wires up now. I'll get some tape out later and tidy that lot up, just to tidy it up a bit. Actually, I'll get it out now. Okay, here comes the bit where you actually have to solder towards the actual main circuit board. DCC updates, shall I say, his name's Martin Claydon. He, on most of his circuitry diagrams, where you have these two resistors here, he actually bridges them, and I do the same and I don't get any problems. So I'm going to either bridge these or desolder and then bridge, which these are desoldered, so I'll get rid of one and I'll get rid of the other one. Just float this up. Like that. Okay. Alright, we've got to solder to the board 3 times now, so don't know whether I'm going to get this in shot. So we don't want this pin here, we want this pin and this pin. So if I remember rightly, that's auxiliary 1, no, that's 1, 2, 3, and then 4's over here. So when we solder an iron, we just want to get some fresh solder on these 2 pins. like that. And then let me just have another look on my test board. So it's the 4th wire long. So from this corner it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Get rid of that solder off one. Like that. So what we'll be doing is 4 will go to this LED here. So we'll effectively take this cable out, this black cable. So that will go all the way down to here. So that will run on function 4. So this cab end will be on function 4. We'll be then doing this end cab, which will be from this trace here, which you can either use a drill bit or a pin vise, or what I tend to use is a scalpel. Some people say don't use this, but it can be used as a good little drill to cut traces. And that's done. And then I use a fiberglass pen to clear the trace. So you can see there. Now that, I think it's called a via, won't be conducting any electricity downwards now. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a jump lead from here to number 3, which is here, and then I believe this one will double back on itself and go to number 2. So auxiliary 2 goes to 2 over here. Auxiliary 1 actually goes through the circuitry, and this is why we put this jump cable in. And then this one goes to 4. So there's only 3 main soldering sections on this area here, which can be tricky. I'm not going to say it's easy, because it's not. And then, but if you have a very fine tip soldering iron, it's not that hard. So we'll do number 3 first, because I'll work inwards. Cool. Like that. And because I've already done that one, I want to go through the middle. Cut the cable. Like that. And give that a little bit of solder down there. A bit more. Cool. Alright, so use my tweezers. Like that. So that's one headlight done, or cab light should I say. Alright, just clean my solder off. So we'll go for the other one. I'm just using the same colour because I haven't got that much of this wire left. I've used a lot of it and it's hard to get hold of. Like that. Ooh, come on. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to go around here. You can do this however you want, but I'm trying to make it as tidy as I possibly can. So I want to do that. Okay, I could have made that a little bit shorter. Just tuck that underneath. You could use a little bit of glue at this point just to hold that cable in place. And then the last one I want to do is I need to desolder this because I don't want to use it anymore because I'm going to replace it. So pull that through like that. And I believe that goes to there. Like that. So you can just cut this, to be honest, but I'm going to desolder it because I don't want it on the board anymore. Just cut it out. Done. Done. Let's get the other cable. So this is the fourth one in we need. So you might want to give it a little bit of cable length so you could do a nice little tidy job. So I'm going to give it to about there. That's done with now. Let's tin this end. And we'll go underneath the Kapton tape that I've used. Like that. Ooh. And you could, if you wanted to, take the circuit board out and go from underneath, but there's plenty of room to go from the top. And that's it, that's done. So there's the basics of the soldering done. You don't really need to do any more soldering other than if you're lucky to still get hold of the blue ones of these. They've now discontinued the Z218 blues for the Z218 blacks. It has a shuttle feature built in, but I was lucky enough to get hold of one of these still. With these ones you have to solder the stay alive onto them, which is here. Now I'm not a fan of having multiple connections like that, so what I've been doing on some of my models is peeling back the circuit board, the heat shrink, and then soldering directly to that capacitor and making sure you have enough cable. You could probably do it easier on this because you can actually get heat shrink to cover the circuit board, which would probably be a safer bet, which I might just do now. The only reason is that long enough? Yes. So what I'll do is I'll cut the heat shrink off. Hopefully I won't cut myself. And I'll come back to you when I've got that off. Okay, that's how it looks once you finally get the heat shrink off. It's a bit tough. So I'm going to start with the black side. And take the blue off. Hopefully it's enough room. We'll put some heat shrink on that and come back to you. There you go. So that's lucky enough I didn't have to cut the heat shrink off there, and you see it's nice and neat. So all I need to do is, let's throw that away. is put this on there, quite nice and tight. You see there's just, might be able to go underneath it, just long enough to sit where a speaker would fit. So all we have to do now is get the body on, change a few CVs, and it should all work. So I'll be back in a sec. No, let me turn this off. As you can see, we've got headlights, tail lights, and cab. And if I just turn it over, cab and tail lights. And then if I just turn it over, I'm using a lock programmer to do this. So in theory, so I'm at cab 1. So if I turn F4 off, the cab should turn off, which it does. And then at F2, F1 does that end. While if I turn it around, F2 would be the tails and F3 is the cab. So what we need to do is have a look at the CVs, and all the CVs are available on DCC Concepts website, which I always lose. What do I need? Okay. Thankfully they got a 49-page document on this. So we're going to need, if I remember rightly, it's okay, so we want auxiliary 1 and 2 to come on with button or function 3 as such, but it's actually function 1. So we need to change CV 36 to 4. And I'll do this one by one. So I've changed 36 to CV4. So I've got cabs. When have I got cabs? Alright, so I've got, you can see there I've got headlights. I'll put function 1 on. There's tail lights. There's tail lights. So then what we'll do is we'll quickly do function, so we want to do change auxiliary 3 and auxiliary 4 to run on function 2. Function button 2. So we want to change 39, CV39, we want to change to 8, which then will make it come on with function the function 2 button. This doesn't really work with Gauge Master Prodigies because they're not latching. In this instance, you'll probably want to put 16, which will be should be number 3. That's function 3. So then I've just changed CV39 and I want to change CV40 both to 8, so that both cab lights will come on with the press of function 2, which they do. So now what we need to do is we need to adjust which way they come on, which would be the bank of CV49 to CV54. So we would need auxiliary 1, which is 51. We would want to come on only in, I think it's reverse. And then 52 we want to come on only the other way. The good thing is if you get it wrong you can just switch them around quickly. You're not going to do any damage. So if I do, yeah, I've done it right. So tails, and that's function 1 being turned off on my controller. Function 1. And then if I turn the lights, the tails come on, and the headlights there, while if I turn function 1 off, you haven't got any. But if I do function 2, I've still got both cab lights. So I need to change, so which way would be, so that would be 4 is this end. So I need to change CV53 I think goes to 16, and 54 goes to 0. Like I say, if you get it wrong, just switch them around. Oh no, wait, right. There you go. So cab lights on, cab lights off, cab lights on with the headlights. I'll put function 1 on as well. If I switch, cab lights go off, tail lights come on, and the same at the other end. So I can turn them off, turn them on. And then all you have to do is change your address. You know, you either use 2mm gauges, 2mm augs, CV29 calculator, which actually also has a 1718 adjustment for doing long addresses. But other than that, that's done. Yeah. If you want me to do any other locos, if I've got them, I will try and do another video. I'm always trying to learn, so let me know if any ideas on a future video. Thanks.